Welcome. I hope you enjoy Old School New Tech by MJK-MultiMAX, where sophistication and excitement meet with a dash of wit. Operating from the obscured lights of the dashboard, the ultimate author incognito, Agent Numero Uno, aka the Pen, delivers state-of-the-art innovations in thrilling, high-stakes novels and novelettes, designed to outmaneuver boredom and stress, while quenching a ravenous quest for fulfillment. With just the right blend of chic, cheek, and charm, prepare for an exhilarating journey filled with clever twists and high-octane intrigue. Dive into the novelette, Old School New Tech, where espionage collides with state-of-the-art innovations. In a world where digital supremacy dictates survival, the global risk mitigation and ethics hub GRMEH is under siege by the elusive Mr. Ready Cashe. As global security teeters on the edge, two unlikely operatives, Midas Touch, a young prodigy with a penchant for classic methods, and Zippy Zephyr, a tech savant, must unite their unique skills to thwart a plot that could reshape the world. Midas's old-school expertise and Zippy's digital prowess blend seamlessly, navigating a realm where traditional and futuristic tactics intertwine. Their mission pushes their limits and forges a formidable bond, fusing the charm of classic elegance with the thrills of modern innovation. Join us for a riveting adventure where every twist and turn challenges the boundaries of technology and tradition. Will Midas and Zippy outsmart their adversaries and save the day? Tune in and immerse yourself in the ultimate audiobook experience, where excitement and sophistication reign supreme. The intro will self-destruct in 30 seconds and turn into a gingerbread cookie. Dunking is advised. Agent Incognito, aka the Pen. Chapter 1: Stolen Reality. This, Midas announced, her voice hushed, is our lifeline, our chance to reclaim what we've lost. With a dramatic flourish, she gripped the tarp and pulled it away, revealing a gleaming, futuristic motorbike. Zippy's breath hitched in his throat. It wasn't just a motorcycle. It hovered above the ground, its engine emitting a low, pulsating hum that seemed to resonate with the very air around them. Zippy circled the bike, his eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. He was a man of logic, of code and algorithms. This machine, with its blend of raw power and technological sophistication, challenged his understanding of the world. It's impressive, he conceded, his fingers tracing the intricate lines of its design. But how does it fit into our strategy? We're going off the grid, remember? Midas's smirk widened. That's where the real innovation lies, she said, retrieving a small, unassuming device from a nearby toolbox. See this? It's a secure communication hub, completely offline, untraceable. It'll allow us to gather and transmit data without relying on the GRMEH's compromised systems. And the hydrogen VTOL, that hoverbike, well, it's a power pack lifecycle unit that flies. We can keep our comms powered up wherever we go. Just plug it in and hover away. Your hoverbike? He exclaimed, his voice a mixture of disbelief and reluctant admiration. I always thought those were still theoretical, a pipe dream of overzealous engineers. Midas smirked, a playful glint in her eyes. It's a cross between a hydrogen combustion engine motorbike and a VTOL drone. We tossed the wheels and integrated the fans and voila, she said, her voice laced with a hint of mischief. And this one, she added, running her hand along the sleek chassis, is a game changer. She handed the device to Zippy, who examined it with the intensity of a scientist testing a new code. Interesting, he murmured, his fingers tracing the intricate circuitry. But is it reliable? Can it withstand the rigors of the field? Midas's confidence was unwavering. It's been manhandled, refined, and battle-hardened, she assured him. It will be our eyes and ears in the field, our lifeline in a world gone dark. Zippy nodded slowly, his skepticism giving way to a grudging acceptance. He was still hesitant, still clinging to the familiar comfort of the digital world. But he saw the determination in Midas's eyes, the unwavering belief in her plan. And for the first time, he began to see a glimmer of hope in this seemingly impossible situation. All right, Midas, he said, his voice surprisingly steady. I'm in. Let's show them what we can do. The rest of the day was a whirlwind of preparation and training. Midas, the seasoned field operative, shared her knowledge with Zippy, guiding him through the intricacies of the hoverbike's operation and the nuances of analog communication. As they worked, a subtle shift occurred. The initial tension between them, the clash of their opposing worldviews, began to dissolve. They were two sides of the same coin, each possessing skills the other lacked. And in that realization, a bond began to form, a fragile alliance forged in the face of adversity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the storage bay, they paused, their faces etched with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. "This is going to work," Zippy said, his voice filled with a newfound conviction. "We're going to turn the tide." Midas nodded, her eyes reflecting the determination in his. "We will," she agreed. "Together, we'll prove that even in the darkest of times, human ingenuity and resilience can prevail." The hoverbike stood between them, a symbol of their unlikely partnership, a fusion of the old and the new. It was their nexus, their lifeline, their beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink of chaos. The battle lines had been drawn. The game was afoot, and Midas and Zippy were ready to play. Their contrasting skills and shared resolve their greatest assets in the fight to come. Chapter 2: The Digital Siege. The digital onslaught on the GRMEH systems intensified, a relentless barrage of code and algorithms tearing through their defenses. Midas and Zippy, their footsteps pounding against the sleek, metallic floors, raced through the GRMEH's labyrinthine corridors, the pulsing emergency lights casting long, ominous shadows. "It's getting worse," Zippy shouted over the cacophony of alarms and warnings. "They've penetrated our secondary firewalls. We're losing control of critical infrastructure." Midas's jaw tightened, her eyes scanning the endless stream of alerts flashing across nearby monitors. "We need to find the source, cut off the head of this hydra," she said, her voice a steely whisper. "Lead the way to the command center." They burst through the doors, the scene before them a chilling tableau of digital chaos. Operatives huddled around consoles, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and determination. Screens flickered erratically, displaying a nightmarish tapestry of corrupted data and system failures. Emergency lockdown protocols initiated, a technician announced, her voice trembling. "We're being isolated. All external communication channels are severed." Zippy's face paled. "Cashe's cutting us off," he realized, a cold dread settling in his stomach. "He wants us blind, deaf, and vulnerable." Midas's eyes darted across the room, searching for a solution, a glimmer of hope in the encroaching darkness. Then she spotted it, a small, unmarked door tucked away in a forgotten corner. "There," she said, pointing. "The analog safe room. It's our only chance." Without hesitation, they made their way towards the door, their footsteps echoing in the tense silence. They sealed themselves inside, the heavy metal door clanging shut behind them, a physical barrier against the digital storm raging outside. The safe room was a stark contrast to the high-tech world they had just left. It was a dimly lit sanctuary, filled with the tools of a bygone era. Maps, compasses, radios, relics of a time when human ingenuity and resilience were paramount. Midas ran her fingers across a worn map, a flicker of determination in her eyes. "Cashe thinks he's won," she said, her voice a low growl. "He thinks he can cripple us by severing our digital ties. But he's underestimated us. He's forgotten the power of the human spirit." Zippy surveyed the room, his initial skepticism giving way to a grudging curiosity. "You're suggesting we fight back with this?" he asked, gesturing to the antiquated equipment. "Not fight back," Midas corrected him. "Adapt. Evolve. We use these tools to navigate the chaos, to find a way to strike back where he least expects it." She retrieved a compass and a set of maps, spreading them out on a table. "Let me show you," she said, her voice filled with a quiet confidence that belied the dire circumstances. Over the next few hours, the safe room became a classroom, a crucible of transformation. Midas, the seasoned survivalist, became the teacher, patiently guiding Zippy through the intricacies of analog navigation, communication, and field craft. He, in turn, the tech prodigy, found himself humbled by the elegance and resilience of these seemingly outdated methods. As they practiced with the compass and deciphered coded messages, a realization dawned on Zippy. "This isn't just about survival," he mused, his voice thoughtful. "It's about adaptability, about finding strength in the face of adversity." Midas nodded, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. "Exactly. Cashe may control the digital realm, but we control our own destiny. We will find a way to fight back, to reclaim what's ours." The crackle of a secure radio pierced the silence, a lifeline from the outside world. A voice, strained and distant, echoed through the room. "This is Agent Wyvern. We've lost contact with GRMEH Command. What's your status?" Midas and Zippy exchanged a look, a silent understanding passing between them. They were the last line of defense, the guardians of a world teetering on the brink. "Agent Wyvern," Midas replied, her voice steady. "We're still in the fight. Stand by for further instructions." As they began to formulate their plan, a sense of purpose filled the room. The digital siege had forced them to adapt, to embrace the forgotten skills of their ancestors. And in that embrace, they found a strength they never knew they possessed. The battle was far from over, but they were ready. They were the underdogs, the resistance, the ones who would rise from the ashes of the digital world and reclaim their future. Chapter 3: Offline Tactics. The transition was stark. The once familiar hum of the GRMEH's digital nerve center was replaced by an eerie quiet, broken only by the soft ticking of a grandfather clock in the corner of the analog-only safe room. Rows of antiquated radios, shelves overflowing with paper maps and compasses, and a bank of disconnected communication equipment painted a picture of a world stripped of its digital skin. Midas, her silhouette sharp against the dim light filtering through the blinds, exuded a quiet confidence. "This," she announced, her voice carrying a weight that belied its softness, "is where we reclaim control." Zippy, the tech virtuoso, felt a pang of unease. He was a creature of the digital age, his fingers accustomed to dancing across sleek touchscreens and holographic interfaces. This room, with its archaic tools and tangible textures, was alien territory. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of apprehension. "We're going to fight a digital war with this?" Midas turned to face him, her gaze steady. "We're fighting in a war where the digital battlefield has been compromised," she countered. "Cashe has turned our strengths against us. We adapt, or we perish." Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of their predicament. The GRMEH, once a bastion of technological prowess, was now forced to retreat to the shadows, to rely on tools that seemed relics of a bygone era. Midas moved with purpose, her hands deftly selecting items from the shelves. Maps, compasses, radios, each piece a testament to human ingenuity in a pre-digital age. "Navigation, communication, survival," she said, her voice a litany of their new reality. "These are the keys to our survival. We master these, and we reclaim our advantage." She turned to Zippy, a challenge in her eyes. "First, we navigate without the digital crutches we've grown so dependent on." She held up a compass, its needle quivering with a life of its own. "Then, we learn to communicate without the risk of interception." Zippy hesitated, his fingers twitching as if yearning for a keyboard. But he saw the determination in Midas's eyes, the unwavering belief in her plan. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenge. "All right," he said, his voice surprisingly steady. "Let's do this." The following days were a whirlwind of intensive training. Midas, with the patience of a seasoned mentor, guided Zippy through the intricacies of analog navigation and communication. The tension between them was palpable, a clash of ideologies and approaches. But beneath the surface, a grudging respect began to emerge. During a simulated mission, they were tasked with navigating a labyrinthine network of tunnels, their only tools a compass, a map, and a handheld radio. The air crackled with static as they relayed their positions, their voices hushed whispers in the darkness. Zippy, his technological instincts momentarily suppressed, found himself relying on Midas's intuition and her uncanny ability to read the subtle cues of the physical world. He marveled at her resourcefulness, her ability to adapt and improvise in the face of adversity. As they emerged from the tunnels, blinking in the harsh sunlight, a sense of accomplishment washed over them. They had faced the unknown, armed only with their wits and a handful of antiquated tools, and they had prevailed. "I'll admit," Zippy said, a hint of awe in his voice, "I underestimated the power of these primitive methods." Midas smiled, a genuine warmth radiating from her. "They may be old school, but they're reliable. And in this fight, reliability is everything." Their partnership, once fraught with tension, was evolving into something stronger. They were learning to trust each other, to appreciate the unique strengths they each brought to the table. As they prepared for their next mission, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. They were no longer just reacting to Cashe's attacks. They were taking the initiative, venturing into the unknown, armed with a blend of old-world wisdom and new-age ingenuity. The stakes were high, the risks immense, but they were ready. The hunter had become the hunted. Chapter 4: Wings of Defiance. The dimly lit corridor felt like a descent into a forgotten world. The heavy steel door clanged shut behind them, severing the last ties to the compromised digital realm above. Midas, a flicker of anticipation in her eyes, led Zippy deeper into the analog sanctuary. "This," she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous space, "is where we turn the tables on Cashe." She stopped before a large metal crate, its surface scarred and dented, a testament to its clandestine journey. With practiced fingers, she entered a complex sequence of codes into the keypad. The crate hissed open, revealing a machine that seemed to defy the laws of physics. A sleek, futuristic motorcycle, its frame a symphony of curves and angles, hovered inches above the ground. Its engine purred with a quiet power, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the digital world they had left behind. "Behold," Midas declared, her voice laced with pride, "the Kawasaki H2 hoverbike. My personal masterpiece." Zippy's eyes widened, his tech-savvy mind struggling to comprehend the sight before him. "A hoverbike?" he stammered, his voice a mixture of disbelief and awe. "But how?" Midas grinned, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "Let's just say I have a knack for acquiring unique assets." She swung her leg over the saddle, her movements fluid and confident. "This beauty is packed with surprises." With a flick of her wrist, the hoverbike's engine roared to life, its powerful thrusters lifting it effortlessly into the air. Zippy watched, mesmerized, as the machine danced in the air, defying gravity with an almost playful ease. "How?" he breathed, his skepticism momentarily forgotten. "Advanced magnetic levitation, coupled with a lightweight, high-output engine," Midas explained, her voice brimming with excitement. "I've spent months fine-tuning it, optimizing every aspect for speed, agility, and stealth." Zippy approached the hoverbike, his fingers tracing the smooth contours of its frame. "It's incredible," he admitted, his voice tinged with reluctant admiration. "But how does this help us fight a digital war?" Midas's grin widened. "This," she said, retrieving a pair of goggles and 2 compact radios from the crate, "is how we take the fight to Cashe on his terms. We'll move unseen, strike where he least expects it, and gather the intel we need to dismantle his operation." She tossed the goggles and a radio to Zippy. "Secure communication, analog navigation," she explained. "No digital footprint, no vulnerabilities. Just us, our skills, and this machine." Zippy caught the items, his skepticism slowly melting away. "All right," he said, a spark of determination in his eyes. "I'm in. Let's see what this thing can do." He climbed onto the hoverbike, settling in behind Midas. The engine thrummed beneath them, a symphony of power and potential. "Ready?" Midas asked, her voice barely audible above the engine's roar. Zippy took a deep breath, his grip tightening on the handles. "As I'll ever be." With a surge of adrenaline, Midas twisted the throttle. The hoverbike shot forward, its thrusters propelling them through the air with breathtaking speed. The dimly lit bay blurred around them, a kaleidoscope of shadows and light. Midas expertly maneuvered the bike, banking and turning with a grace that belied the machine's power. Zippy clung on, his heart pounding in his chest, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through his veins. As they soared through the air, a sense of liberation washed over them. They were no longer trapped in the confines of the GRMEH, no longer at the mercy of Cashe's digital attacks. They were free, empowered, and ready to take back control. The hoverbike was more than just a machine. It was a symbol of their defiance, their refusal to surrender to the encroaching darkness. It was a testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was always a way to fight back. Chapter 5, Shadows and Steel. The hoverbike cut through the deserted city streets like a phantom, its engine a muted whisper in the oppressive silence. Midas gripped the throttle, her eyes fixed on the dimly lit road ahead. Beside her, Zippy clutched a worn map, his brow furrowed in concentration. Their mission was clear: infiltrate a suspected Cashe stronghold and gather intel, using only their wits and analog tools. The digital world was a treacherous battlefield, and they were venturing into the heart of conflict zone, equipped with nothing but their skills and a shared determination. "We're closing in on the target," Zippy announced, his voice tight with anticipation. "Are you sure this is the right approach?" Midas's lips curled into a confident smirk. "Trust me, Zippy. This is how we stay one step ahead of Cashe. He's expecting a digital assault. We're going to give him something he can't anticipate." She leaned forward, urging the hoverbike to greater speeds. The city lights blurred past, a disorienting dance of neon and shadows. The silence was broken only by the soft hum of the engine and the rush of wind against their faces. As they approached the target facility, a sprawling industrial complex shrouded in darkness, Midas slowed the hoverbike to a near-silent hover. She dismounted, her movements fluid and practiced, and scanned the area for any signs of life. "Radio silence from here on out," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the city's ambient hum. "We're going in dark." Zippy nodded, his expression a mask of focus. He clutched the compact radio, its analog simplicity a stark contrast to the digital tools he was accustomed to. Midas led the way, her senses heightened, every shadow a potential threat. They moved like wraiths, their footsteps muffled by the debris-strewn ground. At the facility's entrance, a reinforced steel door barred their way. Midas produced a set of lock picks, her fingers dancing over the tumblers with practiced precision. Zippy watched, a mixture of awe and anxiety churning in his stomach. He had always relied on technology to solve problems, to unlock doors both physical and digital. Now he was forced to confront the limitations of his expertise, to trust in Midas's unorthodox methods. The lock clicked open with a soft snick, and they slipped inside, the stale air heavy with the scent of dust and disuse. The dim emergency lighting cast long, eerie shadows, creating a sense of foreboding. They moved deeper into the facility, their progress guided by Midas's hand-drawn map. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the distant hum of machinery and the occasional creak of the aging building. They reached a secure door, its keypad interface a mocking reminder of their compromised digital capabilities. Midas produced a small, multi-purpose tool, her fingers deftly bypassing the electronic lock. The door swung open, revealing a dimly lit server room, the heart of the facility's operations. "This is where we find the answers," Midas whispered, her eyes scanning the rows of humming servers. "Let's get to work." Zippy nodded, his adrenaline spiking. He began methodically searching for data storage devices, his fingers moving with a speed and precision that belied his earlier apprehension. Suddenly, Midas tensed, her hand instinctively reaching for her radio. A series of coded beeps echoed through the room. Zippy froze, his eyes wide with alarm. "We've been compromised," Midas hissed. "We need to move now." They raced through the corridors, their footsteps a frantic counterpoint to the oppressive silence. As they neared the exit, the sound of approaching footsteps sent a chill down their spines. Midas grabbed Zippy's arm, pulling him into a darkened side room. They pressed themselves against the wall, their breaths held in unison. The footsteps grew louder, then faded, the pursuers unaware of their near miss. "That was close," Zippy whispered, his voice shaking slightly. Midas nodded, her eyes narrowed in concentration. "We need another way out." She spotted a small window, its frame rusted and warped. With a surge of adrenaline, she pried it open, creating a narrow escape route. "Go!" she urged, pushing Zippy towards the window. He hesitated for a moment, then scrambled through, dropping into the alley below. Midas followed, her movements swift and silent. They crouched in the shadows, their hearts pounding in their chests. The adrenaline rush slowly subsided, replaced by a grim determination. "We made it," Zippy said, his voice a mixture of relief and disbelief. "For now," Midas replied, her gaze fixed on the data storage devices clutched in her hand. "But the real work is just beginning." She turned to Zippy, a challenge in her eyes. "Are you ready to put those digital skills of yours to the test?" He met her gaze, his own resolve unwavering. "Absolutely," he said, his voice firm. "Let's show Cashe what we're made of." They made their way back to the hoverbike, the city lights a distant blur in the darkness. The mission was far from over, but they had faced their first test and emerged victorious. Their unlikely partnership, forged in the crucible of adversity, had proven its worth. And as they soared through the night sky, the wind whipping at their faces, they knew that they were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 6: Infiltration, a dance of shadows and steel. The hoverbike hummed beneath them, a silent predator in the dimly lit streets. Midas, her grip firm on the handlebars, navigated the labyrinthine city towards Cashe's fortified compound, a monolithic testament to his power and ambition. Beside her, Zippy, the map clutched in his hands, felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment their meticulous planning and relentless training would be put to the test. "Perimeter approaching," Zippy announced, his voice tight with anticipation. "Are you sure this is the way in?" Midas's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Trust me, Zippy," she said, her voice a reassuring whisper. "This is where the analog advantage shines." She eased the hoverbike to a silent stop in the shadows of a crumbling building, its skeletal frame a stark contrast to the sleek machine they rode. "From here," she continued, dismounting with practiced grace, "we proceed on foot. The compound is a digital fortress, but every fortress has its weaknesses." Zippy followed suit, his movements less fluid but no less determined. He had come a long way since their initial encounter in the analog safe room, his skepticism replaced by a grudging admiration for Midas's unorthodox methods. They moved through the darkness, their footsteps silent on the rain-slicked pavement. Midas, her senses heightened, guided them through a maze of alleyways and backstreets, her knowledge of the city's hidden pathways a testament to her years spent operating in the shadows. At the compound's perimeter, a towering wall of reinforced concrete loomed before them. Midas paused, her fingers tracing the rough surface, her eyes searching for the hidden entry point she had meticulously mapped out. There, she whispered, pointing to an almost imperceptible seam in the concrete. It's unguarded, but we'll need to be quick and quiet. Zippy's eyes narrowed as he examined the wall. Impressive, he murmured, a hint of awe in his voice. And once we're inside, we navigate the labyrinth, Midas replied, a mischievous glint in her eyes. A dance of shadows and steel. I'll handle the physical security, you neutralize the digital. With a shared nod, they scaled the wall, their movements a symphony of agility and precision. Once inside, they moved through the compound's dimly lit corridors, their senses straining for any sign of danger. Midas, her instincts honed by years of fieldwork, detected the subtle shifts in the air, the telltale signs of hidden surveillance. She guided them around motion sensors and pressure plates, her movements a graceful ballet of evasion. Zippy, his fingers dancing across the interface of his modified handheld device, worked his magic on the compound's digital defenses. Firewalls crumbled, encryption protocols shattered, and security cameras blinked out one by one. As they neared the central hub, the tension mounted. The air crackled with anticipation, every heartbeat a drumroll of suspense. I'm encountering resistance, Zippy whispered, his voice tight. The main security system is different. It's learning, adapting. I need more time. Midas nodded, her eyes scanning the shadows. I'll buy you some. Just hurry. She moved ahead, her body a coiled spring, ready to strike at a moment's notice. The silence was broken by the sound of approaching footsteps, the rhythmic thud of boots on concrete. Midas reacted instantly, her movements a blur of calculate power. She disarmed the guards before they could raise their weapons, her movements swift and precise. Zippy, momentarily distracted, looked up in awe. This was a side of Midas he had never seen before, a fierce warrior hidden beneath her calm exterior. Almost there, he muttered, his fingers flying across the device's interface. Just a few more lines of code. Suddenly, the alarms blared, their deafening shriek shattering the tense silence. The compound was in lockdown, their cover blown. We've been made, Midas hissed. Time to go. They sprinted through the corridors, their pursuers hot on their heels. Midas led the way, her knowledge of the compound's layout their only advantage. They dodged laser grids, vaulted over obstacles, and slid under closing blast doors, their escape a desperate dance of survival. As they neared the exit, a figure stepped out of the shadows, blocking their path. It was Mr. Ready Cashe, his face contorted in rage. You thought you could outsmart me, he snarled, his voice dripping with venom. You thought you could disrupt my plans. Midas met his gaze, her own burning with defiance. We're just getting started, Cashe, she said, her voice unwavering. Your reign of terror ends here. The final showdown was a clash of wills, a battle of wits and reflexes. Midas and Zippy fought back to back, their contrasting skills a whirlwind of analog precision and digital disruption. And as the dust settled and the echoes of the battle faded, they stood amidst the wreckage victorious. They had faced the darkness, and they had emerged stronger, their bond unbreakable. The world was still in peril, but they had taken the first step towards reclaiming it. The struggle was far from over, but they were ready. They were the resistance, the beacon of hope in a world teetering on the brink head-on.